Now for the latest financial information on European and American markets. Stay with us on Pearl 4 World Market Update. It's called an omakase menu, which means you leave everything to the chef. A luxury car that combines comfort and eco-friendliness. Also, shoes and clutch bags for this spring and summer. Thursday night, Dolce Vita at 10 on Pearl.
报道股市走势，一手掌握最新金融行情。日一钟表特约，普通话财经报道，星期一至五明珠台。
Hello and a very good evening. Stocks opened higher on Wall Street, led by gains for financial companies. Banks and insurers rose 0.9%, the most of the 10 industry groups that are on the S&P 500 index. U.S. stocks had a lackluster start to the week as investors start to question whether equities have risen too fast this year. The Dow has risen 15.5% this year so far, and the S&P 500 is 15% higher. Record company earnings, optimism that America's economy is improving, and stimulus from the Federal Reserve have boosted demand for stocks. Well, let's take a look at the charts now. And the Dow Jones is up 80 points. The S&P 500 is trading 13 points higher. US 30-year Treasury bond, it's priced at $95, spot gold at $1,433 an ounce. US dollar cross rates is now 102 yen to the greenback, 1.29 to the euro, 1.52 to the pound, and it's 1.01 to the Canadian dollar. And gains across the board in Europe. In London, the FTSE's up 54 points. In France, the Paris CAC finishing 20 points higher. And in Germany, the Frankfurt DAX finishing up 59 points. And the news is next. Stay tuned.
You're watching TVB Pearl. Up shortly, we hand you over to our news department for a summary of all the day's top stories in the News Roundup.
We are the oddball. We're the freaks.
The cosmos is full of nightmare worlds.
We're finding all different flavors of hell, all these different ways that planets can go wrong. That's where we are right now, searching for heaven, finding hell.
Wednesday, how the universe works at 9:30 on Pearl.
想要預防蚊叮蟲咬，只要有莫叮我雙辣椒，一貼一噴就得啦！一貼莫叮我驅蚊貼，一噴莫叮我 IR3535驅蚊蟲噴霧，衰蚊、烏蠅、蜜蜂、黃蜂、飛蟲、頭虱，通通都要走。噴霧用喺寵物身上都冇問題，有莫叮我一貼一噴雙辣椒，蚊蟲冇有怕啦！
打鼻鼾及日間瞌睡係睡眠窒息症嘅主要病徵。如果唔及早醫治，會增加高血壓、中風及心臟衰竭等風險。如果你懷疑患上睡眠窒息症，請盡快向你嘅醫生查詢。
如果你發現你屋企人成日打鼻鼾同瞌眼瞓，快啲聯絡醫生安排睡眠測試啦。
Here's something off the wall. For carpets, a motorized brush bar with anti-static carbon fibers for hard floors. For stairs, a mini motorized tool. A powerful digital motor in your hand for perfect balance up high. And of course, no loss of suction.
我想生意租主，
我層唐樓想加我
冇入息證明喎，
點算啊？
有香港信貸 ，no trouble，
冇煩惱，
任何物業都借足8成，無需入息證明，5分鐘電話極速批核，樓按簡單冇煩惱，香港信貸樓按 no trouble。
This is America's Got Talent, the top 10.
Whose dreams will come true? Saturday, America's Got Talent at 8:30 on Pearl. The time now is 11:44. The Time Check was brought to you by Chopard.
ICAC opens criminal probe into Timothy Tong's hospitality spending, fallout from LegCo president's move to end filibuster, and a rendition of David Bowie that's out of this world. Good evening. The ICAC is opening a criminal investigation into the scandal involving lavish hospitality spending by its former commissioner, Timothy Tong. The Department of Justice says there's sufficient basis to warrant a probe into allegations of corruption and misconduct in public office. Separately, lawmakers will grill Tong at an upcoming hearing held by the LegCo Public Accounts Committee. Diane To reports.
The Public Accounts Committee has summoned Timothy Tong to attend Saturday's public hearing as a witness. The former ICAC head will be grilled on recent audit report criticisms that the anti-graft body claimed excess hospitality spending by splitting up bills and putting such items under its publicity expenditure. And much of this excessive spending was found to be used by Tong on lavish banquets and gifts for mainland officials, said to amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars of public money. But the committee's chairman admitted it has a narrow scope to work within because it has to focus on the audit report findings.
Our duty is to find out what is being written in the report and to find out the truth and to look forward to how the future should be.
Because of the Public Accounts Committee's limitations, pan-democratic lawmakers have also voted to form a select committee to look into Tong's conduct. But since the Select Committee doesn't have the power to summon witnesses, Public Accounts Committee member Alan Leung said he hopes the PAC chairman will allow for some leeway in the hearing so that lawmakers can also follow up on other allegations, such as whether Tong abused his position to gain favour with mainland officials. Tong was given a seat in Beijing's top consultative body after he left the ICAC last year. The ICAC also announced today that it will begin criminal investigations into its former chief, after several complaints were filed against Tong in the wake of the audit report and other media reports. Officers who have any connection with Tong outside of their normal ICAC duties have been banned from working on the case. Diane To, TVB News.
The LegCo president exercised his power to end the budget debate this afternoon, but the lawmakers who carried out the filibuster cried foul and have threatened to take legal action against the move to end their campaign. Evelina Leung reports.
At 1:30 this afternoon, LegCo President Zhang Yuxing put an end to the 2-week-long budget bill filibuster. By 2:30 p.m., legislators have begun voting on 710 amendments. That process is expected to finish by Thursday at the earliest. Pro-democracy lawmakers criticized the LegCo president for ending the debate.
The president already danced to the tune of the chief executive, and it is very unfortunate that this council has been dictated to by the chief executive.
Leung also rejected government claims that the filibuster would result in a so-called fiscal cliff. And those who carried out the filibuster are threatening to take legal action.
I'm going to have a consultation to the lawyers where the decision of the president of the LegCo is a violation of the rights of the legislator, or it is ultra vires accordingly to the rules of the LegCo. So I need to consult the lawyers whether there is a fair opportunity to go to the court and ask the leave of JR, or whether there's any opportunity to win the case or not.
Outside Lejko, members of People Power, Legal Social Democrats, and the Neighborhood and Workers Service Center protested against Zhang's decision. According to Albert Chan of People Power, another lawmaker who carried out the filibuster, the Lejko president claimed that had failed because it couldn't get the government to make concessions, so it would be meaningless to continue the filibuster. But Chan said Zhang's move is unfair because all the amendments they tabled have merits.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying welcomed Zhang Yuk-sing's decision to end the budget debate. He said because of the filibuster, the Legislative Council has failed to deal with other government policies which affect people's livelihood. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
To the latest now in the shooting death of a Taiwanese fisherman by the Philippine Coast Guard last week. Manila is said to have agreed to 3 of the 4 demands made by President Ma Ying-jeou's government. The top Philippine diplomat in Taiwan returned to Taipei today after holding crisis talks with President Benigno Aquino in Manila. Antonio Basilio presented Aquino's response in talks with Taiwanese officials. According to Taiwanese media, Manila has accepted Taipei's demands for an official apology, punishment for those responsible, and arrangements for fishery talks between the 2 sides. But the issue of compensation still needs to be discussed. Taiwan earlier gave the Philippines until midnight tonight to respond to its demands over the killing in disputed waters in the Barsha Strait. Earlier today, a Taiwanese military spokesman raised the stakes by saying the island will send warships to patrol the disputed waters. The Associated Press news agency says the U.S. government recently seized telephone records of AP officers and reporters from a 2-month period in 2012. AP says the government would not say why the records were seized. They speculate it may concern a story published on May the 7th, 2012, about a CIA operation in Yemen that stopped an al-Qaeda plot to detonate a bomb on a U.S.-bound airplane. The incident threatens to set off a confrontation between free press advocates and the Obama administration, which has aggressively pursued national security leaks.
This is not a very narrow cast inquiry. It seems to be very broad, and we don't really know what it's about. They haven't told us what they're looking for, and nor have they explained why we got no prior notice, which our lawyers tell us is not only customary but required.
Well, U.S. President Barack Obama tried to swat down a pair of brewing controversies that have put the White House on the defensive. Obama held a joint news conference with visiting British Prime Minister David Cameron, but the focus was mainly on American issues. Alan Buckner reports.
The normally even-keeled Obama appeared agitated over the resurgent Republican-driven investigation into last September's terrorist attack on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya. 4 Americans, including Ambassador Christopher Stevens, were killed. Obama rejected criticism that talking points on the attack produced by U.S. intelligence were watered down to delete references to the suspected involvement of Islamic militants.
The whole issue of this of talking points, frankly, throughout this process has been a sideshow. What we have been very clear about throughout was that immediately after this event happened, we were not clear who exactly had carried it out, how it had occurred, what the motivations were.
Obama also sought to keep another controversy from spinning out of control. News that the U.S. tax collection agency, the IRS, scrutinized the tax-exempt status of groups with conservative-sounding names.
I can tell you that if you've got the IRS operating in anything less than a neutral and nonpartisan way, then that is outrageous. It is contrary to our traditions, and people have to be held accountable, and it's got to be fixed. I will not tolerate it, and we will make sure that we find out exactly what happened on this.
On the continuing civil war in Syria, the 2 leaders said they'll continue to press for a diplomatic solution. Cameron said Britain is pressing for more flexibility on an EU arms embargo.
But there will be no political progress unless the opposition is able to withstand the onslaught and put pressure on Assad so he knows there is no military victory. So we will also increase our efforts to support and to shape the moderate opposition.
The British Prime Minister is in the U.S. to try to negotiate a free trade deal. The two countries already participate in more than $17 billion in transatlantic trade every month. Alan Bookniat, TV.